I'm often given tasks on the fly, whereas many of my tasks are given as a result of meetings. These days, an increasing number are coming from emails or my manager or client asking me to do something. I find myself quite disorganized when dealing with this. I'm writing things down when I'm told, but it's all over the place. Post-its, notebook, phone, etc. I don't have a solid method of keeping track of these things. I'm guessing that a possible solution is to write all these things down in the same place, but I've also tried that and it didn't really make a difference. I'd appreciate any input or advice you have on how to record and track objectives in a functional and a reliable manner, as I'm subjected to a lot of information each day, week, month. I'm definitely overloaded to remember it myself.
Discipline equals freedom. So yeah, a few things. First of all, definitely write the things down in one place. And it sounds like since you're moving all the time or you're going to meetings, carry just a nice little notebook with you and write the things down as you get tasked with them. Then on top of that, you have to have a master list of some kind, either paper or digital. I'm going to probably recommend digital to track things overall in a prioritized method. So if you get tasked something in a meeting in your little notebook, you come back, you put it in the right place in the master task list. And then like twice a day, consolidate the information that's in the little notebook you have into the big master list. And then before you go to bed at night, you organize those things by priority on the master list. You put the most important thing at the top, and that's what you're going to attack the next day. That's part one on how you get these things organized. Now, the part two is you got to schedule this stuff. And actually, I always say this when people have trouble with tasks, put them on the calendar. You know, actually, Jamie does that for me. When Jamie's got something for me to do, she just doesn't email me and say, hey, you need to do this. She puts it on the calendar. So I look at my calendar, boom, there it is. I got to go do this, whatever this task is, done. So put these things on your calendar, and that includes scheduling time on your calendar so that you can have time to consolidate your lists and do a review of your lists. You know, whether that probably take 15 minutes to do. And I guess there's a bunch of apps you can use, and I'm sure people will make recommendations, but there's a ton of to-do list apps, including there's native ones on all the different phones. So you could look at that as a voice recorder. You can either use the voice recorder app you have, or you can carry around a little mini voice recorder, and you can just take notes with that, and then you consolidate those notes from your voice recorder into your master task list every day, and then you just got to prioritize and execute. That's it. Pretty straightforward. Write the stuff down. Put little. I always put little boxes in front of everything. Yeah. Do you understand? Like when I have a task, I put a little box in front of it so I can check it.
Yeah. Yeah. It makes, bro, you're obviously compared to me a master at that. Like all that is like, dang, you can do all that, bro. I'm on the fly, just like this guy, this person, straight up, like on the fly, and new stuff comes up. Bro,
you'd be surprised.
Same boat.
You'd be surprised at how much more you could get done if you actually made a list of things you're supposed to do.
How's this? I make a list, and I still I'm trying to nail it down. Right. I'll make a list. So I have a book that Jamie gave me, by the way. A to-do list book. And then I have.
She was trying to encourage good habits with you.
And then I have my phone, and then I have this. Oh, and then I have just a regular thing on the paper, and then I do this thing where I'll open Word and have it on my side screen, and I'll put the list there for the day. It'll just be up staring me in my face. And strangely, that has proven
that's good.
to be the best one, because and here I see my mistake right now that I'm telling you this. I put it on the book that Jamie gave me, right? My to-do list. I put it there, and then
you don't consolidate your lists.
It's on that book. There's one on the phone, which is different now, by the way.
Need a master list. Yeah. There's some apps that make so it doesn't matter if you put it in your phone, if you put it in your computer. I mean, obviously, if it's on paper, you need to transpose it into digital format. But there's things that do that. Yeah, you need to consolidate a list. You need to have a master list of things that you're trying to do.
And then I need to attach myself, as far as the routine goes, to look at that list. You know how, like...
That's why you schedule it, which is what I just said. That's why you put it on your schedule. Hey, every day when I sit down for lunch, I'm going to do a 5-minute review of my list and make sure I'm on track. That gives you the afternoon to catch up on anything you might have missed.
And just get rid of my other list. Because half of it is me trying different methods out. Right in the middle of carrying out one other method. You know, so it's
There's a bad thing about trying to combine a bunch of different methods. What you're doing when you do that is you're looking for the easiest way. And I'll tell you the funniest, clearest example of that. When Dean first started fighting, and he was going through his various stages of trying to figure out how to cut weight. And he already cut weight. He cut weight in high school as a wrestler. So he knew how to cut weight. But what happened is people would come along and say, hey, there's this trick and there's that trick and there's this trick and there's that trick. And he would try all these little tricks out. Yeah. And he would try them, you know, at the same time.
Yeah. That's exactly what I'm doing.
Yeah. And that's exactly. And guess what? You don't. When you try all these different, because what you're really doing is you're looking for something that sounds easy. Go, yep, I'll do that. It was for Dean, it was like, oh, I'll go in the Epsom salt bath in the hot tub. And then it was, and I'll drink just distilled water for X amount of days. And it's all these things are viable, right? We know that they're viable options, but you have to use them in conjunction. You can't just like pull whatever little piece you want and think you're going to be good to go. No, you got to follow the system. Yeah. Take one and go with it kind of thing. Yeah. And what you're trying to do is you're looking for things that sound the easiest, and that's what you're trying to do. Yeah. Right. It's in the what middle we call the easy path. We don't like the easy path over here. But meanwhile, like, you got 3 different paths, all effective. Meanwhile, you're jumping from one path to the other, and you're not even getting there. Yes. That's exactly what I'm doing with my to-do list. I have like 4 to-do lists. Okay. You need a to-do list that says consolidate all your to-do lists. That's step number 1. Then I got to remember that's the list that I'm checking. Then I got to remember to check it. Because you know how because you always have that to-do list in your brain. Yeah. You always do. You know, you're like, oh, I got that thing. By the way, it's on my mind. The one in my brain is real solid. What? Like the to-do list in my brain is really, really solid. Yeah. Like I know what I have to do. Yeah. The things I have to write down are things that are outside the parameters of daily situations. Like let's say there's some admin thing that only comes up. Well, if it comes out super rarely, I'll remember it. But if it's an admin thing that comes up once every quarter. Yeah. I probably won't remember that. It's not so far outside that I'll remember, and it's not in the routine, so I don't remember it. So I got to write that thing down. That's what's on my list. So do you write down the list that's in your head on the written list? I'll write down the things that I know are subject to being forgotten. Because the other things, I don't forget them. Yeah, so you're just don't forget them. Confident you're not gonna forget. If I have let's say I'm going on a trip like if I'm going on a regular trip, if I'm going to go to a company that I work with and they're in Atlanta and I'm going to fly out there for 3 days, I don't even have to think about that. Yeah. Everything that I do is the work I'm doing, the prep I'm doing, everything I do is just standard. It's a standard operating procedure. Even the things I'm going to bring with me. Yeah. It's the same. I went on a 1-day trip to Vegas the other day, like in and out. I didn't even stay the night. Yeah. And I had the same suitcase that I take when I go on a 5-day trip. Like it doesn't matter to me. I'm not changing any standard operating procedures. Yeah. I got there and they said, "Aren't you leaving today?" I said, "Yeah." He said, "Why'd you bring a suitcase?" This is how I travel. This is the standard operating procedure for me. Yeah. I'm not deviating from it, whether I'm going for 1 day, like a 9-hour trip to Vegas or a 5-day trip to Atlanta. Guess what? It doesn't matter. I'm carrying the same thing because that's what I do. So if it's something like that, I don't even need things. Some things don't make my list because they're already in my head, and my list in my head is solid. Yeah. It's things that are outside the bounds of the standard operating procedures. Those are things that'll make the list. Yeah, and that makes sense for this question. This question because he's getting stuff on the fly. He's getting stuff on the fly. He's got to write this stuff down. Yeah. I think we're all kind of the same way in that way where you're going to have 1, 2, maybe 3 things on your mind that no way I'm going to forget this, kind of thing. But man, those lists though, you really got to choose one path and stick with it and then remember it. That's the thing. I think that's my problem. I know that. Man. Next question.